Hey, how are you? Well, it's definitely turning into a long winter. The one thing that, I really don't mind the winter too much, but it's just a lot easier getting materials out to the barn when there's not 6 inches of snow on the ground, because I can usually just drive my truck right out to the barn. But, you know, it is what it is. It's good exercise. So, this week I'm building a platform with storage for a twin-size mattress. And I've already made some of my cuts. Right now I'm working from a pretty loose drawing, but by the time I finish this project, because I'm kind of designing it as I go, I'll have a nice tight drawing with a cut list and a material list, and you'll be able to find that on my website. So I'm going to bring the camera over and just show you the drawing, and then we can get to work. Here's a look at the drawing that I'm working from. You've got a cabinet on either side of the mattress, plus another storage cabinet at the foot of the bed. I'm going to build these two cabinets first, and then I'll figure out this cabinet. These are the parts to one side of the bed. Now, I haven't glued or screwed anything together yet. I just wanted to get a look at it and also explain a few things, because this is surprisingly more complicated than I thought it would be. So at the head of the bed, the joint here where the side meets the top and bottom, this needs to be flush. But down at the foot of the bed, there's a 1/2 inch overhang. I decided on the 1/2 inch overhang at the foot of the bed and also on the front of the cabinet, really as a design element. I just thought it looked nicer having a small reveal rather than a flush joint. There's a couple of things I'm going to have to do before I assemble this cabinet, and one of them is to add an iron-on edge banding to the front and the foot, and also the sides and the dividers. I've banded the edge of all the parts, and I've given everything a quick sanding, and now I'm deciding where the dividers are going to go, and this will basically decide how wide each cube is, and that's really entirely up to you. But what I've come up with is a 16-inch cube at the foot of the bed, two 19 5/8 cubes in the center here, and then another 16-inch cube at the head of the bed. And I've already marked out where the dividers are going to go on the bottom of the cabinet. And now I'll put the top and the bottom together, make sure that I'm flush at one end, and then transfer the lines from the bottom to the top. And then I'll square across and draw a line. So remember, I'm working on the inside of the cabinet now, and I'm going to attach the dividers with 2 screws. So I'm measuring in from each side and putting a mark at 2 inches. And then I'll drill a hole at all of these marks, and notice that the hole is supported by the MDF under the workpiece, and that's so the hole doesn't blow out on the other side. Once I finish drilling all these holes, I'll flip the board over and countersink the holes. Okay, so now that I've got the 2 ends on, I can't attach the dividers yet until I cut a rabbet in the back of the cabinet to accept the back. And for that, I'll put a rabbet bit in my router. Okay, well, after I finished routing out for the backs yesterday, I called it a day. And so now I'm ready to start building the cabinet. But before I do that, I want to talk a little bit about routing out for the backs. I'm using 1/2-inch plywood for the backs because I want the strength of the 1/2-inch plywood. So I had to route down 1/2 of an inch. Now that's a lot of material for the router to remove. So I first set the depth of the router at 1/4 of an inch, remove the material, and then I set the depth at the 1/2 of an inch. Another thing is, you'll notice that I don't just plunge the router in and try to remove all of that material in one pass, because it's just too much material and you'll often get chip out in the plywood. So what I find is by kind of running a score cut and then cleaning the cut up seems to work the best. Now one other thing is, on the 3/4 edge here, the router can be very tipsy. And so what a lot of guys will do is clamp a board that's flush with the edge, and that will make for a wider platform and make the router more stable and easier to use. Okay, well I finished with the first cabinet except for the back, and I'm not going to cut the back until I finish the next cabinet, and even then I'm not going to attach the backs until I finish the cabinets with a clear coat. And for this project I'm probably going to use a water-based polyurethane. Well, I didn't get a lot of time in the shop yesterday, but I was able to get the other cabinet built. I was on an installation installing the frames that I was working on last week. So right now I've got the foot of the bed facing me, and I'm going to start working on the storage cube for the foot of the bed. But I also wanted to point out, when I built the cabinet, I attached the dividers to the cabinet with the back of the dividers flush with the rabbet joint. This will be the storage cube at the foot of the bed, and I've made a small drawing and a cut list to help me get started. I just finished assembling the cabinet for the foot of the bed, and just like the other two cabinets, before I assembled the cabinet, I applied the iron-on edge banding and gave everything a quick sanding first. But with this cabinet, I'm not going to rabbet out for the back, and I'll talk about that in a bit. The next step is to move on to the headboard. Here's a look at the drawing for the headboard. I'm starting with a piece of 3/4 inch birch plywood that measures 38 1/4 by 41 inches. I'll have to band the edges of the plywood again, and then I'm going to add another piece of 3/4 inch plywood as a decorative panel. Well, it looks like this is as far as I'm going to get this week, so this will be a two-part video. Now, originally I thought I could easily finish this project in a week, but I'm going to add a few things that I think will make the bed frame or the bed platform a lot nicer, but they'll also take more time. And one of them is I want to elevate the platform off the ground by about 2 inches, and I want to do something a little bit nicer on the headboard here. I will have a drawing with a cut list on my website, and that will get you to this part of the build. And if you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments and I'll do a follow-up video on Tuesday. If you enjoyed the video, please, I lost my train of thought. Tell a friend, or subscribe, or share it on your social media, and also the thumbs up. Have a great weekend. I'll see you soon.